Hello YouTubers, this is Gold Standard 0924 coming at you with another video. This is basically going to be a TV series review on a particular action show that I basically had a chance to rewatch after a couple years. Now I'm kind of uncertain at the same time whether or not I want this to be just a regular review or another edition of Forgotten Gems. If it happens to be another edition of Forgotten Gems, you'll probably notice the format change, and it's not going to be like audio commentary, but and basically, my problem with the Forgotten Gems series is just the volume when I upload some of the videos on YouTube, because I just watch a random Forgotten Gems video that I've done, and no, I'm just having some problems, with the volume just being a little too low and such. So I'm just gonna be basically not gonna do like one of those two-step processes. Um, it just takes a long time to upload a lot of those videos, considering the fact that I've done it through Windows Movie Maker. And basically, once I finish a slideshow, I would um, I would have to save the file onto my computer and just wait for it to boot up to 100%, and then I would have to like upload it onto YouTube, and it's very stressful, and I really want to go out my way to adjust or edit a lot of things, but I'm just gonna be just gonna um, there's not gonna be any audio clip here. You're just gonna have a hopefully a pretty loud voice. Nothing to have a in terms of the volume, so to speak. Um, but yeah, this is just basically be if it happens to be a Forgotten Gems video, if I want to make it a Forgotten Gems, then this is just basically be the new format change. But I think this is going to just be a simple, straight TV series review. And the show that I'm going to be reviewing in this video is Kamen Rider Dragon Knight. So basically, the show very significant in terms of the production going into the making of the show. So basically, this is the first Kamen Rider series to be adapted or imported to the United States since 1995's Masked Rider, which was produced by Saban Entertainment. And you may know them for their contributions to Power Rangers and marketing Power Rangers into the global phenomenon that it was in the mid 90s. So yeah, so Masked Rider came out in '95. That was up to that point was the only Kamen Rider adaptation that was here in the United States, and and basically, yeah, I never really watched Masked Rider a whole lot. I've watched a couple episodes of it. Um, it's definitely nothing compared to the tone and the direction of the show presented in Kamen Rider Dragon Knight. But yeah, so Masked Rider only ran for about a year, and it was eventually canceled in late 1996 when it moved from Fox Kids to just local syndication. And and for all the backlash that Masked Rider got due to straying away from its original source, and Masked Rider had a very lighthearted, goofy tone to it, as opposed to the dark and gloomy tone that was presented in Black RX. So Masked Rider, because this was supposed to be geared towards younger children, because and then again, Kamen Rider and Masked Rider, they're both far apart from each other, because Kamen Rider's from Japan, Masked Rider's in the U.S. So there are different standards and practices behind the censorship. So you couldn't allow like in Kamen Rider Black RX, the protagonist's parents end up getting killed at the end of the series, for instance. And with Masked Rider, you wouldn't allow that, because not only it's geared towards the children from the Western culture, but you're also it was also put on Saturday mornings, so they had to like tone it down quite a bit, if not a lot. So eventually, Masked Rider, it was only lasted for a year, and hasn't been adapted in between the time that that the show aired and Kamen Rider Dragon Knight came out. So this might explain the name change the next time that they adapted another Kamen Rider series. So basically, the show centers around a lead character by the name of Kit Taylor, and basically, he's this 18-year-old orphan, or starts off as an orphan, but his father had been missing for about only a year or so, and he is really unsure as to where he went. So eventually, in his mind, he is told that he has something left that he ate left over before he disappeared, and it turns out that he finds this this little device which is called an Advent deck, which is basically a device used to transform a person into a clad armored superhero, which they call Kamen Riders. And so and Kit eventually gets the Kamen Rider Dragon Knight and transforms into that suit. And along the way, he meets up with another Kamen Rider named Len, who possesses the Advent deck and becomes Kamen Rider Wing Knight. And basically, he comes from the mirror realm of Earth, known as Ventara, and basically, he and Kit they have this sort of ascension, and Kit is very unsure as to why Len's acting the way he is. And eventually, at some point, Len eventually explains to Kit as to why he's here on Earth, and the fact that Xaviax took some nearly all the Advent decks that were stolen from his original team, and basically, he travels to Earth to find the people that might have possessed the Advent decks that Xaviax lent to them. So eventually, they patch things up, they make amends, and they both form a partnership to help each other and basically collect the Advent decks. Collect the Advent decks that Xaviax had stolen after the defeat of the original Kamen Riders. So basically that was pretty much the starting, kind of like the premise of the whole show, and basically the starting point of it. So I mean, this show, I mean, I could see it's also another show that kind of gets mixed reviews, and overall, I mean, I wouldn't say it's like the worst adaptation. I mean, at least it did put effort in some ways, but I think it's very story driven, unlike Masked Rider, which was very you had your middle of the road self-contained episodes, and Kamen Rider was a very story driven, and basically you had to watch from start to finish in chronological order. So so if you had to watch a random episode of Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, you honestly probably wouldn't understand the whole structure of the story, and just the fact that you might miss something from the previous episode, because it really goes to show just how it's each episode is a continue of the previous episode, and it explains why there's always going to be recaps of things that happened. I mean, it's not self-contained like Power Rangers also, and even maybe some of the earlier seasons of Smallville, whereas the first season was Monster of the Week and very self-contained episodes. But Kamen Rider Dragon Knight was very is very kind of story driven, in the sense that you have to watch each episode to get a better understanding of the story. And they normally beat you in the head a lot of the times, because they a lot of the recaps last about a minute, maybe a minute and a half or 2 minutes, sometimes maybe a full second, a few seconds. But yeah, so it's very, it's just very, everything's happening, and there's no filler episodes in between. It's very right there, right to the point. It's like no messing around. We got to get through all this. That sort of tone. Um, and when it started off, it started off very basic, and basically you have all these, you know, Zabiax, the main villain in the series, starts lending some of these civilians these advent decks, and the thing about these advent decks is not like, oh, we gotta pick this random guy and make him a Kamen Rider, but those people that have the Kamen Riders have to have a exact DNA replica of their mirror counterparts, like JTC, who played James. Yeah, basically, he has a mirror counterpart, um, from Ventara, and basically, each of the characters kind of, um, I know it sounds like it shouldn't be that confusing, but basically, some of these characters, they tend to have different distinct personalities, and they may look the same, but some of their personality traits might be opposite of each other, but even despite that, as long as their DNA matches with their other counterparts, then they're able to transform into the Kamen Riders. So eventually Zabiax, hands all these some of these guys some Kamen Riders with the Advent decks, and basically transform in the Kamen Rider suits themselves, and he's Zabiax is kind of like more of like a drug dealer. Well, yeah, kind of like a drug dealer, but kind of more in a family friendly manner. But trying to kind of influence the civilians and try to make their lives seem better. Um, but they don't really realize until later on just how much of a that he's only using them to turn against one another, and basically, this is just basically part of a grand scheme plan that he has. So yeah, so basically this becomes, for most of the episodes, you see like Kamen Riders fighting one another, and eventually you get to like the final battle where all the Kamen Riders that were vented, quote unquote, basically, also something I forgot to mention out. If a Kamen Rider eventually gets defeated, then they are sent to the Advent Void, and basically, when you can't come out of the Advent Void. You're destroyed. You're there. You're in suspended animation. Yeah. So Zabiax did in fact defeat the original Kamen Riders, so that explains why you didn't really get to see them until like towards the end. But it's also explained in one of Len's anecdotes about about their war with Zabiax and the last battle that they had with them. Yeah, so basically that's the whole idea of kind of getting vented, being it's kind of like a substitute for being destroyed or killed. So that was kind of like that. Yeah, so there was actually some notable actors that were on this show. You had Victoria Jackson. She actually had a cameo in some of the earlier episodes, and you may know her on some of the earlier Saturday Night Live seasons from the late '80s, early '90s. Yeah, she was on there. She was Maya's aunt who operates a like kind of like a Barnes and Noble's bookstore sort of thing, but it's called Grace's Books. Yeah, she was on there. Mark Dacascos, yes, that Mark Dacascos that was in the movie version of Double Dragon, and He was in that movie Drive with the late Brittany Murphy. Um, yeah, so he actually appeared as the Advent Master. So he's basically kind of like the mentor of the Kamen Riders, but he also comes from a different planet that wasn't Ventara. So yeah, so basically, he's he basically is eventually gets like some of the Kamen Riders that were defeated, and has access to the Advent Void and to bring out anyone out of that realm. Um, yeah, so Mark Dacascos was on that show. He was also he would go on to be in Mortal Kombat Legacy, which ironically he and Matt Mullins co-starred together. Um, Mark Dacascos, I think, plays Kung Lao in that web show, and Matt Mullins plays Johnny Cage. So they're no strangers to one another. Um, yeah, I think that's some of the notable actors that were on there. Um, yeah, so Kamen Rider Dragon Knight. I don't know how to give it a score, but it's definitely not the worst show I've seen. But I think it's kind of one of those shows where it's like there's just too much going on, and if you get like a casual viewer to watch to kind of get into the show, they wouldn't have a sense of idea of what's going on, because everything's very attached to one another. Everything's kind of like you can't miss this show, you can't miss an episode, and then just skip through a random episode, watch that, and then go to the episode previously. You have to watch in like chronological order, and maybe some of the viewers that they were originally intended for were didn't really have that sort of attention span, but I would think they would actually watch some anime, which is kind of like that. Um, but I think also one of the problems I have on the show was that there was just way too many clip shows. Now I can understand maybe having one of them, but especially for a show that's only like 40 episodes, like there's like only they just had like fucking 3 of clip shows, which was kind of insane. Um, but I'm guessing that might have been like used as a way to kind of save money, but but I just didn't really see the need of having 3 clip shows, especially that might explain, they were, maybe the creators were, afraid that some of the viewers weren't gonna get into it. Now, like the first clip show only covers like the first 14 episodes, just basically, covering, Kit, becoming the Kamen Rider, and basically the whole idea of what a Kamen Rider is. Second half covers the episodes 15 to 28, which covers the around the time that Kit and Len end up befriending Chris, and basically explaining their mission statement and their goal to basically help save Earth and Ventara. And then the third consists of obviously an epilogue talking about the last half of the series. Yeah, so there was definitely a lot of clip shows that they added in like 40 episodes, but it was just really I don't want to say unnecessary. I think especially with the epilogue episode, which I believe was called Dragon's Tale. Yeah, it was just basically Maya just talking about all the stuff that's happened, but it wasn't like the previous 2 clip shows where they discussed where you saw the characters actually having a scene where they were discussing about stuff or advancing a certain scene. I really feel that it was kind of a missed opportunity in a sense, because we should have. I mean, that whole like when Kit ends up rescuing his father, we never really got to see like that true tearful moment where Kit's father ends up coming out alive from his comatose, and basically having that father son moment where we see them hug each other, and basically now his father's kind of back from, just basically snapped out of comatose. We never really got that moment. I really would have liked to have seen that, but we never really got that true father-son moment to kind of wrap things up truly. But yeah, they just only tell us that Kid's father is back and ready, but we never really have like a dialogue really showing that he's really is back, and it's not like some shenanigans that's been just some shenanigan that's been set up by Zaviax. Um, yeah, so I mean, there was just stuff that was just really weird, especially towards the end. And then the whole fact that they brought in the Advent Master, that even though the Advent Void was a place where you couldn't escape, eventually he's the only person that's able to get them out of there, and then somehow get them out of there. So I don't know. I mean, it was still a pretty cool ending with the two-parter for Ventara and Earth, where you see all these Kamen Riders come in and reunite together and stop Zaviax. But I don't know. But I really would have loved this. Maybe see a sequel to it. Maybe if there was a sequel. I know they were kind of considering like a movie a couple years back, but that never really made it into production. And I don't believe they really have the rights to some of the props that they have left of the show. So it's definitely a show that's kind of, I guess you could say it's somewhat forgotten, but then again, I'd be contradicting myself because the show did in fact win the Daytime Emmy Award um, for some of the action choreography, the stunt coordination, which they actually won in that category. Um, so yeah, I think one of the bright spots about this show was definitely the fight scenes, because they really emphasized that a lot, and they actually had some of the actors that actually had some martial arts background, like I mentioned with Matt Mullins and Len. Um, One of the Show Brothers, I think the actors that played the Show Brothers had uh, some fighting background, and just contributing to the stunt choreography. Um, Mark Dacascos, also a trained martial artist, was on here. Um, yeah, I think on paper it was somewhat of an interesting cast, but yeah, and then I always thought that the fight scenes were probably without a doubt, one of the best scenes out there. Let's see. Yeah, so the last couple episodes, I remember like CW4Kids, the Saturday Morning block at the time. I remember they like took that episode off because it wasn't really doing well, and yeah, I remember I had to like watch it on the 4Kids website to watch like the remaining episodes. Um, so it was kind of I don't know, it was kind of one of those shows where it's kind of hard to judge whether or not the show was successful or not. Because I mean, like I mentioned, I mean it did win something, and it's not like a show that's like, oh well, we're gonna forget about it. Oh, it's another run of the mill show that's trying to milk in on the success of an already popular show. Um, so I really don't know how to go from here, but overall, Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, I wouldn't say it's like the worst necessarily, but I think it could have been a lot better in terms of the acting, and somewhat to a certain degree maybe the production value of the show, and maybe better TV promotion. Um, I think it could have been maybe a bigger hit, maybe not like Power Rangers level of global phenomenon necessarily, but I think it might be at least a somewhat moderately successful show, um, if it was maybe not put on like a Saturday morning block, which I believe by that point no one really gave a fuck about Saturday mornings by that point, especially as far as broadcast TV is concerned. And then you notice now that there's no more Saturday morning cartoons anymore. Um, as far as that's not on basic cable or anything. So yeah, that's really all my thoughts on Kamen Rider Dragonite. So let me know what you think about this video. I hope I explained this as best as I could. Um, this is just my attempt at reviewing another TV show that isn't Power Rangers related. So I hope it was all worth the watch. Yeah, so that's really all I have to say about that. Thank you all guys for watching, and until next time, this is Gold Standard User 924 signing.